one person has been telling us Vandy is for real for a long time now. Cory Curtis will give you your flowers, will give you your due, because this is something you've been preaching for a while, even though in the early part of the season you couldn't get a good gauge because of Vanderbilt's opponents. But Vandy did what good teams do, and they put bad teams away, and subpar teams, they got the win. Coming off this latest win against LSU, what did you make of the game, of the hype going into it, and the way they were able to execute on Saturday?
Well, I was a little surprised that they were favored because just of because of the optics.
Yep. Right.
But Vegas is in the business of making money. Okay. And so I think the research had finally set in that LSU might have been a little overrated at 10 based on brand, and Vandy may have been a little underrated on 17 based on brand. And so Vanderbilt was favored in the football game. They were clearly the better football team when it was over. And yes, Pavia did what he wanted to do. But what did I tell you when Vanderbilt lost to Alabama? I said they got away from the run game.
Yep.
I mean, the run numbers were huge for them in that football game, but they didn't run the football enough, especially in the second half. They got back to running the football this game. 45 rushing attempts, 230 yards, 2-to-1 rush to pass, and the 17 of that is Pavia. But that's one of the things he gives you. You know, he's a short, stout, strong, high burst guy who can run the football, and he had 17 carries for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I mean, guys, we have seen LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Florida for years just beat up Vanderbilt at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And the other thing I told you about, they've got the lines on both sides to go toe-to-toe with these teams. They beat LSU up.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would ever say that in my life, but the 5 big guys up front controlled the line of scrimmage and allowed Pavia to do Pavia stuff. He didn't even incorporate really all of his weapons. I mean, the wide receivers didn't do much.
Right.
They didn't have to.
Yeah.
They were busy running the football.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be long-winded here. One of the things that really impresses me about this win is there were 0 turnovers on either side.
Yeah. It was
They didn't need help to win.
Right.
They simply won the game at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
They were the better team.
Yeah.
And I think that stat will go unnoticed, but to me made the victory even more impressive.
Absolutely. I think so too. And I think in a game that lands like this, 31-24, you're thinking, well, Vandy might have got a punt return for a touchdown or, a late fumble. But no, you're right. They just lined up, and for 4 quarters, they really beat up on this LSU football team. Now we're moving forward. We keep talking about Vanderbilt in the national spotlight. Nashville's always had this national spotlight. It's a town of celebrities. It's a city of celebrities. But Diego Pavia just seems to stand out among all the others. He's answered the bell every single time. The spotlight gets even brighter. The stage gets bigger this week in a big game against Missouri, who's also impressing a lot of people this year. Another top 25 game. What do you think of the spotlight? Not only he's getting, this team is getting, and just the way they're able to handle success.
Well, look, that's a guy who's never going to be afraid of the spotlight. And you love the way he bounced back from the Alabama game where he had the 2 big red zone turnovers. Clearly, he was a Ted Lasso goldfish and put that behind him. And it did not bother him in this football game whatsoever. And frankly, I'm excited for the young man. He's now 5th in the Heisman odds, 10-1. He should probably be higher than that. But they're playing from behind. What it's like when you start the season unranked. Whether it's the Heisman or the playoff, you're always playing from behind.
Yes.
You're always trying to play catch up. Well, he's there. And with game day here and another, top 25 matchup, he's got another opportunity. And that's one of the great things about playing the Southeastern Conference. It doesn't matter who you play for. You're going to get opportunities to show you're the guy. And so, it could come down to he and Simpson at Alabama, because they're both playing great, but he's, they're going to need another nice game from him, in this football game. He won't be afraid. And the other thing is, how do they handle success? And so far they've handled success pretty darn well. I still think that Georgia State loss from last year really stings this football team. One of the things I thought was comical in the post game, somebody asked Clark Lee about being bowl eligible.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah. And he was well, it's nice to be set for the postseason, but our goals are loftier than that. And that's why I was like, guys, they're not thinking about the Liberty Bowl or the Music City Bowl. They're thinking about that college football playoff. That has to be the target. And they don't even have to win out to get there. That's the incredible thing.
Yeah.
They can go 4-1 and probably get in. And, we kind of joked about them getting there a few weeks ago, and I said I wouldn't bet on it. Now I think I don't know if I'd bet against it.
Right. Absolutely. You mentioned running the football. I got a chance to see Cedric Alexander once again. Unfortunately, got a little banged up there, but he looked really good in the Alabama game a couple weeks before and looked good on Saturday, as well as some of the other stable of running backs. Who are some of these guys that they'll be leaning on as they move forward once again, because it just seems like running the football has been their ticket to success?
Well, that was the first. I have to go back and look at the stats. I think that's the most Pavia's carried the football this year. 17 times. And, he was a guy who carried it last year. And frankly, for them, the less they have to use him in that regard, the better, for his longevity of this season. So, that's exciting for them, because they still kind of have that bullet in their belt, that, hey, we can always unleash Pavia, especially if Cedric Alexander's a little ding. But, Macklin Young, I don't know what his per carry season average is. It's really high. I mean, this kid is explosive. He touches the football and he scores. I think what did he have in the last game against LSU?
I just saw
5 for 82. 5 for 82.
Average
he averaged 16 yards a carry. And so, I mean, and he might be a double figures for the season. I know at one point he had scored a touchdown every 4 times he touched it.
Wow.
So, Macklin Young continues to be a guy who can deliver. One of the other things that was impressive about this last game, like I said, they didn't really use their wide receivers. And we know Eli Stowers is good, but Cole Spence is a tight end that they thought was going to be the guy last year.
Right.
Until Eli Stowers showed that he was the guy. Well, Cole Spence had a really nice game against the Tigers. He had 5 catches for 56 yards. And again, Pavia, he takes what's there. Yep. Sometimes what he takes is 50 yards downfield, but he doesn't care who he's throwing it to. He counts and believes in all of those guys to make plays. And that type of confidence and empowerment is, if you don't think it's infectious, you haven't watched this football team.
That's right.
Because they are all supremely confident in what they're going to do. And, now when they say, 2 years ago, Clark Lee talked about competing for championships, and we all scoffed and laughed because they were Vanderbilt.
Right.
Now when they talk about playing for championships, and now when they talk about they're not afraid to play anyone, and they don't need to get lucky to win games. They don't need, they're trying to get healthy for the next game. They go into every game thinking they're the better team and they're going to win. And they have a reasonable expectation to think that.
Well, Cory, then I'll ask this. I mean, I don't think Vanderbilt needs to win out to make the college football playoff, but if they were to drop a game and still make it, what game would it be, do you think?
Oh, I mean, I think some of it depends on how teams play out. Does Texas win out except for that game?
Right.
Does Missouri win out except for that game? Losing at Tennessee to finish the season probably wouldn't be the worst thing, because you're on the road, and if Tennessee is 9-2 going into that game, they're ranked very high as well. So I mean, look, it's got to be one of the ranked teams. I would say preferably a ranked team on the road. Okay, you don't want to lose at home. You need to take care of business. And by the way, I've worked here a long time, and that stadium was hot garbage for a long time. And no, it was embarrassing. It looked like a stadium, a Texas high school football stadium built in the 1950s.
Did they run out of beer this weekend?
You know what? I don't know. Here's what's incredible. So not only did we have Vanderbilt LSU this weekend, Messi was in town with Inter Miami.
Oh, that's right.
And
wow.
So I actually took my daughter to the Inter Miami Nashville SC game and saw Messi score 3 goals. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
there we go.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And saw Messi score 3 goals, which was, I mean,
unbelievable.
He's like Jordan playing a pickup game with high school. The guy's absolutely unbelievable. And so the 6 guys I'm sitting next to went tailgate at Vanderbilt LSU, watched Vanderbilt LSU, and then made their way over, because it was a 5:00 kick for Nashville SC.
Right.
Made their way over to Nashville SC to watch Nashville SC Messi, and they didn't stop. And I was like, you guys are heroes. And I don't know how none of you are getting up to go to the bathroom.
I know,
because I can't keep up with this. So I did not hear that they ran out of beer. The Titans, when the Titans have like the Bills or the Bears or the Packers in town, Nashville runs out of beer.
Absolutely.
Nissan Stadium doesn't run out of beer.
Uh-huh.
That literally happened. When the Bears came here, the entire city ran out of beer.
Well, after the Titans watched Vrabel come in and take care of the Toxic X, they might have ran out of alcohol.
There was a good contingency from New England, and there should be, because they're used to winning, but they really stunk for a long time. And I think 3-4 years.
Yeah.
They stunk long enough for the fans to savor winning again. And so they had a good turnout, and they've got a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that solves a lot of problems. I mean, look, it's not a mystery, how Vrabel wound up in New England, guys.
Yeah.
And Drake May is part of that equation.
Absolutely. As our resident Patriots fan here myself, yes, it has been a long road, and I'll tell you what.
Don't talk to me about long road.
Oh, I know.
No.
And people didn't want to hear it when we had a 10-year gap between Super Bowls, because we made 2 and we lost both of them. And I would say, oh my gosh, it's been forever.
1985. That was a great game. You probably weren't alive for that one, were you?
Baby. Patrick was not alive.
I was definitely not alive.
That was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I was 14, 15 years old for that.
Yeah. Oh man.
That was a massacre. It was an absolute massacre.
I know, but it's good to see the Commodores giving the folks of Nashville something to smile about. I know Messi came in there and did work, and Pavia is doing work as well. As it relates to the defense going into this game, of course you got Ahmad Hardy on the other side, but Alabama bottled him up. Auburn basically bottled him up as well. What's the challenge for the defense this week going up against a really good Missouri football team?
Well, if we want to talk about Mike Vrabel, we can talk about set the edge, build a wall, swarm to the football.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and you stop the running back, and you make the quarterback beat you. But here's what Vanderbilt has, and it was one of their priorities in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
They are too deep on their defensive line, and they can rotate those guys all through the game, which they've not been able to do in years. So when you've got to go against a battering ram you're trying to get your hands on, the whole game, he's not going to wear those guys out because they're rotating through. He's an excellent player. Missouri's a good football team. Look, they're only a 2.5-point underdog. Missouri can come in here and win. Eli Drinkowitz knows how to coach. Vanderbilt can't play poorly and win the football game. Vanderbilt can't turn the ball over 2 or 3 times and win the football game. But it absolutely starts, at the line of scrimmage with trying to bottle that guy up.
Cory, I mean, when you look at college football right now, the coaching carousel is in full swing. I feel like I have to ask this question, and I know Vanderbilt fans do not want to hear it, but is there...
Oh, so it's about Clark Lee, okay.
Are there any rumors of Clark Lee potentially leaving Nashville, or have you heard anything?
I have not heard anything.
Okay.
I've heard his name, mentioned for Penn State. I
How
saw
poetic that would
today.
be.
Yeah.
I saw a list today. I just noticed that hook's coming out of my head. I saw him on a list today for Florida, and I think there's something. Look, he's a Vanderbilt guy,
Yeah.
and being comfortable in your own skin and being comfortable in your environment, and like Tim Corbin had a lot of chances to leave here. LSU went after him, Auburn went after him, Texas went after him, and he said no to all of them because this was his place, and he was good, and he built it to probably the #1 program in the country for a good 5-10 years.
Yep.
And I think Clark Lee, this is my estimation from just covering and listening to Clark, that's kind of what Clark Lee seems like to me. Would he be foolish not to listen to some of those? Sure, you always listen.
Right.
I say, listening is free. Touching will cost you. All right. So I mean, I think he absolutely has to listen to some of that stuff. But I think for Clark Lee, fulfillment is winning a championship at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That's fulfillment for Clark Lee. He's a different kind of guy. I could be dead wrong, and he could be the head coach at Florida next week. I don't know, but I don't see him that way. And by the way, he's got this football program in a position. It's going to be tough to be sustainable because Diego Pavias don't grow on trees.
True.
but he's got a stadium that he can now recruit to a little bit. He's got an NIL program, which is critical that he can recruit with a little bit. He's got an excellent coaching staff, and he's got proof of performance.
Yeah.
Because players want what, 3 things? They want to play, they want to win, they want to play for a championship, and they want to go to the NFL.
Yep.
Well, and I guess now they want to get paid.
Yeah.
So there's 4 things.
Right.
And I don't know how many he's put in the NFL. Because I mean, that's, why did Nick Saban get so many players?
Right.
Because he won? No, because half the first round was Alabama.
Yep.
That's why. And all those guys wanted to go in the first round. So so if you can start supplying some of those things, you can have that long-term productivity. And so I think, like when James Franklin got here, it was like a lightning bolt.
Right.
And the schedule worked out. Tennessee was down, Georgia was a little down, Auburn was down, and he caught all those teams and he coached that team well and got the most out of them. But then the moment a bigger offer came, he got the hell out of Dodge. And really you couldn't blame him because the infrastructure was not here to win long term.
That's right.
And so the infrastructure here is now with Candace Story-Lee, the athletic director, and the NIL program and the fundraising program they have is in a much better place. Look, they're still not on par with the elites of the SEC. And they're never going to be. They're never going to be.
Right.
But they're in a more competitive space. And I think they've proved to themselves, if they manage the right things and get the right players, they can do it. And they can do what they said. Compete for championships, which I absolutely think my head's going to explode if I say it one more time because I still can't believe it.
You can't believe it, but you've been saying it to us from the beginning. And if you're a bettor, you're a listener, anyway. Cory's made you some money this year because he's talked about how good this football team is. We'll get another chance to see them this weekend against Missouri. Cory, thank you so much for your time, and I'm glad you got to enjoy Messi and a big win for the Commodores.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way. I mean, you know what I love about this season?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know you're saying goodbye to me. The SEC in the past we've had elite and then good, and then the garbage at the bottom. This year I feel like we just got a lot of good,
really good, yeah.
And so there's a lot of teams who can just beat each other, and so it really makes it more interesting. Alabama seems to be starting to separate themselves. We'll see if they can finish the job. Kalen DeBoer's, we talked about, he's an excellent football coach.
Yeah.
And he's got them headed in the right direction. But I think the league's a little bit more fun this way when there's a little bit more mystery as to who is actually going to win on Saturday.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. You got a chance to keep staying in that good area this week against Missouri. Cory, again, thank you so much for your time.
All right, guys. Have a good one.